I've had a few people say to me, quote, "I'm a bad meditator," and, quote, "it's just not for me because blank." If this is you, I've got good news for you. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of what meditation actually is, why we do it, why the belief that you're, quote, bad at it is BS, what challenges may be getting in your way and how to overcome them, and how to practice meditation in ways that work for you personally. Meditation and contemplation are two different techniques, yet they are complementary to each other. Meditation is a definite method of training oneself on all levels: body, breath, conscious mind, and unconscious mind, while contemplation builds a definite philosophy. Without the support of a solid philosophy, the method of meditation does not lead to higher dimensions of consciousness. Contemplation makes one aware of the existence of the reality, but reality can be experienced only through the higher techniques of meditation. Before I get into the tips you may find helpful, I feel called to talk a little about the mind through the lens of yoga philosophy. Even if you have zero interest in yoga, I feel like this may help you understand meditation better and how to do it, and thus help you in your practice. Yogesh Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The first word is yoga, which means unity or union. Next is chitta, which translates as consciousness of the, quote, mind field. From there is vritti, which translates as, quote, mind stuff, fluctuations or modifications to the mind field, or chitta. Lastly, there is nirodha. There is no definitive translation for this word, but it has become roughly understood as setting aside, regulating, or managing the mind. Knowing these words is important, I promise. So this sutra roughly translates as, yoga is the regulation of the modifications of the mind field. This tells us that the whole purpose of yoga, which includes meditation, is nirodha, regulating, managing the fluctuations of the, quote, mind stuff in the mind field, or setting aside everything that you are not. Note, you are not your mind. A common example yoga teachers like to use to help others understand this concept is that of a body of water. So, chitta, the mind field, is represented by a lake, and vrittis, fluctuations or modifications, are represented as waves moving along the lake's surface. When undisturbed, the lake is perfectly still, and when we have a thought or remembering, a vritti, this creates a wave. It modifies the mind field. When you are in meditation, the purpose is to regulate or manage or set aside, nirodha, these waves. Nirodha is often thought of as, quote, to control or, quote, repress vrittis, but this will only cause harm. Instead, we manage them or simply notice them as the observer, and then let them pass by, or we may even play with them and contemplate them and chuckle to ourselves. Ha! Silly vrittis. We do not grab hold of or get lost in the vritti. We do not become frustrated or resentful. This is one way we can practice aparigraha, non-attachment. Meditation doesn't turn thoughts off as much as it simply enhances ability to witness them as phenomena arising and subsiding in consciousness, moment to moment. We begin to witness thoughts in the same way we perceive sound or light or shadow. They are transitory happenings, coming and going. A meditation practice also helps us observe difficult emotions as passing phenomena, such that we don't fixate on them or identify with them. We acknowledge them as they appear and wave at them as they disappear. We are the sky. Thoughts, feelings, and sensations are clouds. We are the road. Emotions are the cars, bicycles, and pedestrians. The last sutra we'll look at here follows 1.2. Tada drashtu swarupe avashtanam. This roughly translates as, then the seer abides in itself, resting in its own true nature, which is called self-realization. So when we practice Chitta Vritti Nirodha, regulating the modifications of the mind field, and, quote, the lake, becomes still, we rest in our true nature, still unmodified consciousness. This is also known as samadhi. That's really what meditation is about. It's an excavation of the mind, such that you can garner greater insight into the nature of reality. I feel it's important to mention that if you have recently experienced a traumatic event or have unhealed PTSD, this affects your sympathetic nervous system. And although meditation has proven to aid in calming the system and even heal trauma, this can add a level of difficulty when starting out. You may not be thinking about the trauma or directly experiencing trauma in the moment, but your body will still respond as though you are. You might not even be aware that you have trauma or label the experience as, quote, traumatic, but your body will let you know through a constant state of tension and an inability to relax, insomnia, an inability to concentrate or make decisions, being easily startled or jumpy, feeling detached, and loss of sexual desire or intimacy, just to name a few things. You may even find that you become anxious while meditating. This may be letting you know that you don't feel safe letting your guard down, or just being. Some people hold the belief that they thrive in chaos, so meditating makes them irritable. But chances are it's because chaos and instability is what they grew up in, so it became their comfort zone. Growing up in chaos and instability is traumatic, and if it's not dealt with through therapy or counseling, secure relationships and flexible routine, etc., this trauma sits in your body, affecting it whether you're aware of it or not. For those that are interested in learning more, check out my ACEs 101 YouTube video and or my attachment theory series. Generalized anxiety disorder and ADHD, which may also be symptoms of trauma or caused by something else happening in the brain, can also add levels of difficulty to starting a meditation practice. Like trauma, meditation can actually help aid and even heal these disorders, but getting started can be challenging. I say this with the recommendation that you are understanding, patient, and kind with yourself as you start and build your meditation practice. Just because you may have challenges other people that meditate don't, doesn't mean you're bad at it or shouldn't try. The following tips may be helpful to some, but they are not hard rules you must follow or the end-all be-all ways to practice. There are lots of ways to meditate, and if you haven't found any of them to be helpful, create your own. Don't feel boxed in or limited by ancient or modern practices. There is no, quote, right way, except for the one that works best for you as an individual. For example, I know someone who triggers a panic attack whenever they even try the most basic pranayama. Paying attention to their breath actually causes them to hyperventilate rather than relaxes them. You may also find that some days you want to change up your style, then go back to your regular practice other days. As long as you practice consistently, this is all that matters. Also, keep in mind that your practice will change and grow, so allow room for this. Lastly, caffeine and other stimulants can also make it difficult to meditate, so you may want to practice before consuming them or long after, so there's little to none still in your body. Finally, we have arrived at the tips section. Remember, these are not rules. I'm merely sharing what has helped me and what others have shared with me that has helped them. So take what resonates and leave the rest. First, if you hold the belief that you are a, quote, bad meditator, that you're just not good at it, that it's just not for you, I recommend using a clearing statement and or forgiving yourself for the belief. This is a limiting belief, and holding on to this belief will make it more difficult for you to meditate. You might say something like, quote, anywhere and everywhere I've decided, bought, and sold the belief that I'm a bad meditator, I destroy and uncreate across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. 2. Commit to a regular practice at the same time in the same place. It's easier to create a habit if the action is performed routinely and consistently. You might even say ritualistically. I recommend a dedicated, non-cluttered area. This will help you relax. I also recommend sitting for the entire practice. If you lie down even in Shavasana on the floor on your yoga mat, you will very likely fall asleep. So make sure your dedicated space has at least a comfy pillow for you to sit on, or a chair to sit in. As part of a regular practice, doing it at the same time creates the habit and triggers the brain to know it's meditation time. This works when creating any habit, even ones we don't intend to create. If committing to a daily practice for the foreseeable future seems overwhelming, build up over time. Maybe try it for a few days a week, for just a few minutes a day, or even take it one day at a time. Quote, just for today, I will commit to meditating for 2 minutes. You don't need to be all in all at once, and you don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to get started. 3. Set a helpful intention or affirmation before you begin, such as, quote, I am calm, I am centered, I surrender to what is, I am present, I accept imperfection. 4. Use gentle pranayama and or chanting or mantra as, quote, prep. Both pranayama and chanting can be full meditation practices, but I find they can be useful as, quote, warm-ups, too. You might take 3 or 4 deep breaths and or rounds of chanting just to relax the body and prepare the mind. 5. As Jeff Krasno put it perfectly, quote, the primary purpose of meditation is to access the present moment. It's about being all here, right now. One way to help still the mind and practice being present is one-pointed meditation or absorption. Focus the mind on one thing. Block out everything else. Become fully absorbed on this one thing. Have you ever watched a crackling fire and become fully absorbed in watching the flames dance around? Or even the flame of a candle? This is one-pointed meditation. 6. One of my favorite ways to practice being present is when I'm in nature. It's so easy for me to just be when I'm camping or at the beach or even just going for a leisurely walk along a trail. When I'm not distracted or lost in thought, I'm fully absorbed in watching the leaves dance in the breeze, or the waves rolling and licking the shore, or little critters scurrying around, or clouds slowly passing by in the sky. I've never done so, but others who fish have told me that they enjoy it not for capturing the fish, but the time spent sitting in the boat or standing on the dock. It's peaceful, quiet, still, and they are fully present in each moment as they take in the scenery. 7. In the winter, or when the weather is not suitable, or just because, I find listening to nature to have a similar effect. Listening to the sound of ocean waves or jungle sounds, or even thunderstorms on CD or Spotify or YouTube or wherever, brings me right into that space. I'm absorbed and fully present. I've also found classical music helpful. My go-to is Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. You can put them together with Chakra artists Beethoven with ocean sounds. Whether you're a complete beginner or not, the mind will wander off, causing vrittis. It's normal, especially in the beginning. Again, tap into heart chakra energy of compassion, understanding, patience, kindness, and forgiveness if you find your inner critic chastising your, quote, imperfect practice. Just notice that the mind wandered without judgment, then bring your mind back. Nirodha. This will likely happen often, but will lessen with practice. This is not a comprehensive list, of course. This video was designed to help you release the limiting belief that you're a, quote, bad meditator, and get you started exploring and being curious about discovering what works for you, rather than trying to force yourself into a box created by someone else. Remember, there is no, quote, right way, except for the one that works best for you as an individual. So that's all I have for you for this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one.